What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, welcoming you back to the 2012 Bridgewater's Finest Awards. And what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be breaking into the mixed martial arts portion of the 2012 Bridgewater's Finest Awards. Now, in honor of the fact that we're getting into the mixed martial arts section, and of course, mixed martial arts having its own dedicated section from regular sports, the fight gloves are on. You know them and you love them from the UFC videos. We're going to be talking MMA here in the next two videos. This video is dedicated entirely to my list of my top 10 favorite fighters of 2012. Now, you'll notice what I say there. I'm not necessarily saying top 10 best fighters of 2012. I'm saying this is my personal top 10 favorite fighters of 2012. So with that in mind, let's get into it. What I wanted to do for this is I actually wanted to start off with a list. I had a list of about 30 guys that was in contention here for this top 10 list. So there's a lot of guys that I do really like, but they just didn't quite make the list. And I wanted to take the time to honorably mention each and every one of them for both their contributions to MMA in the past year and just to honor the fact that while I do like them a lot, they didn't quite make the top 10 list. So going in reverse alphabetical order, there's no particular favoritism order to this. It's literally reverse alphabetical order. I want to give honorable mention to Teatrin Zhang, the Mongolian Wolf, Stephen Thompson, Rustam Habilov, Rusamar Palhares, Phil Davis, Paul Sass, Marius Zaromskis, Junior Dos Santos, Johnny Hendricks, Hector Lombard, Hatsu Hayoki, Francis Carmel, Damian Maya, Dan Hardy follows me on Twitter, Cub Swanson, Costa Philippou, Big Nog, Antonio Rodrigo Noguera, Ben Saunders also follows me on Twitter, Anderson Silva, and Alexander Shlemenko. These are guys that I really, really like them, and they're really great fighters, but they just didn't quite make the top 10 list this year, but they're definitely worthy of an honorable mention. So now let's get into them. My top 10 fighters of 2012 and what they did in the past calendar year. Number 10 on my list is Ivan Menjivar from the UFC. In 2012, Ivan Menjivar went 2-1. He submitted John Albert at 3 minutes 45 seconds of the first round by rear naked choke in their fight at UFC on Fuel TV 1. He was decisioned by Mike Easton at UFC 148 and came back by submitting Azamat Gashimov at 2 minutes 44 seconds of the first round by way of Russian armbar at UFC 154. Now, Ivan Menjivar, Salvadorian Canadian, super well-rounded guy, dangerous standing up, dangerous in the clinch, dangerous on the ground, and he is a finisher. This guy finishes his fights or he doesn't win them at all, basically. Ivan Menjivar's next fight is lined up against Uriah Faber at UFC 157, which is a pivotal matchup in that division. Ivan Menjivar, my number 10 favorite fighter of 2012. Number 9 is the UFC's Nate Diaz. Now, Nate Diaz in 2012 was 1-1. He submitted Jim Miller at 4 minutes 9 seconds of the second round by way of guillotine choke in their fight at UFC on Fox 3, and then was of course decisioned by Ben Smooth Henderson in a lightweight title fight at UFC on Fox 5. Now, obviously, Nate Diaz, he's got that last name, Diaz, his Diaz brother. Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, one of the best shit talkers in the game, a very difficult style to fight against, elite-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We don't know when Nate Diaz's next fight is going to be, but Nate Diaz, my number 9 favorite fighter of the year. My number 8 favorite fighter of the year, and the only fighter on this list to not come from the UFC, and I'm sorry I'm being a UFC homer with this list, but take it for what it is Shinya Aoki. Now, Shinya Aoki in 2012 was 2-1. He was TKO'd by Eddie Alvarez at 2 minutes 14 seconds of the first round of their fight at Bellator 66. Came back with a submission victory of Arnaud Lepont at 1 minute 25 seconds of the first round by way of triangle choke at 1FC Rise of Kings. And then submitted Antonio McKee at 24 seconds of the second round, submitted due to strikes, as a matter of fact, at Dream 18. Now, Shinya Aoki, if you don't know who this guy is, one of the absolute best grapplers in MMA, earned him the nickname Tobikan Judan, which translates to the Grandmaster of Flying Submissions. You do not want to let Shinya Aoki get a hold of you if you're fighting him, because if he does, it's probably going to be game over. We don't know when his next fight's going to be, but Shinya Aoki, my number 8 favorite fighter of the year. Number 7 on the list is Cain Velasquez. Now, in 2012, Cain Velasquez was 2-0. He TKO'd Bigfoot Silva at 3 minutes and 36 seconds of the first round in their fight at UFC 146, and then decisioned Junior Dos Santos in a heavyweight title fight at UFC 155, became the UFC heavyweight champion for the second time in his career, proved that he truly was injured in their first fight because he looked completely different. He's the best of the new school heavyweight mixed martial artists. Like, he's the best of these hybrid guys that aren't just the stand and throw fists until somebody falls over. His next fight is unknown, likely to be defending the title against maybe an Alistair Overeem or something like that. Cain Velasquez, my number 7 favorite fighter of the year. My number 6 favorite fighter of the year is Glover Teixeira. Now, in 2012, Glover Teixeira was 2-0. And he submitted Kyle Kingsbury at 1 minute 53 seconds of the first round by way of arm triangle choke at UFC 146, and TKO'd Fabio Maldonado in what was a greatly entertaining fight at 5 minutes of the second round at UFC 153 by a corner stoppage. Known to me as the Destroyer of Worlds anyway, Glover Teixeira has no losses since 2005. He's finished 7 straight fights. He's got insane knockout power and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He next fights Rampage Jackson at UFC on Fox 6. By the way, watch my prediction video for UFC on Fox 6 to see how I think that fight is going to go down. Glover Teixeira, my number 6 favorite fighter of the year. My number 5 favorite fighter of the year is Stefan Struve. Now, in 2012, Stefan Struve was an unbeaten 3-0. He TKO'd Dave Herman at 3 minutes 52 seconds of the second round at UFC on Fuel TV 1. He submitted LeVar Johnson at 1 minute 5 seconds of the very first round by way of armbar of their fight at UFC 146, and TKO'd Stipe Miocic at 3 minutes 50 seconds of the second round at UFC on Fuel TV 5. I still consider Stefan Struve the future of the heavyweight division at 265 pounds. He's only 24. He's got 12 UFC fights already. Next fight's Mark Hunt in what's going to be a very exciting fight at UFC on Fuel TV 8. Stefan Struve, my number 5 favorite fighter of the year. My number 4 fighter of the year is Joe Lauzon. Now, in 2012, Lauzon had a less than stellar record of 1 win and 2 losses. He was knocked out by Anthony Showtime Pettis at 1 minute 21 seconds of the first round at UFC 144. Came back from that loss by submitting Jamie Varner at 2 minutes 44 seconds of the third round by way of triangle choke of their fight at UFC on Fox 4, and then was decisioned by Jim Miller in a Fight of the Year candidate at UFC 155. Joe Lauzon's last 5 wins have all been not just submissions, but submission of the night. The guy has amazing grappling. He is a blank of the night bonus winning machine. Again, as I said, his fight with Jim Miller is a Fight of the Year candidate for me. We don't know when Joe Lauzon's next fight is going to be, but he is my number 4 favorite fighter of the year. My number 3 favorite fighter of the year is Mauricio Shogun Rua. Now, in 2012, he was 1-1 in the UFC. He TKO'd Brandon Vera at 4 minutes 9 seconds of the fourth round of their main event fight at UFC on Fox 4, and then was decisioned by Alexander Gustafsson at UFC on Fox 5. Shogun Rua is one of the legends of mixed martial arts. He's consistently in these highly exciting, just great fights, just these wars of fights. a former Pride champion, former UFC champion, multiple-time Fight of the Year winner. We don't know when Shogun's next fight is going to be, but Mauricio Shogun Rua, a legend of the sport, my number 3 favorite fighter of the year. My number 2 favorite fighter of the year is Nick Diaz. Now, in 2012, Nick Diaz only fought one time in a losing effort against Carlos Condit by decision at UFC 143. That was in an interim title fight. Nick Diaz missed most of the year due to a Nevada State Athletic Commission suspension for marijuana, but we talked about the Diaz's before. I absolutely love their fight style, even though they aren't really the best at adapting to what their opponent is doing and sort of changing their own style up, but I love the fight style, I love his attitude, and few fighters get me as excited for a fight before, during, and after the fight as does Nick Diaz. He next fights George St. Pierre at UFC 158 for the welterweight title. Nick Diaz, my number 2 favorite fighter of the year. And number 1, my number 1 favorite fighter of 2012, we just mentioned him, George Rush St. Pierre. Now in 2012, GSP was only 1-0, only fought the one time, decisioning Carlos Condit in their welterweight title unification fight at UFC 154. GSP missed most of the year this year due to multiple knee injuries. He's the long-time defending UFC welterweight champion. GSP is greatly disliked for his game planning and his sort of safe style, and I completely understand those criticisms, but he has the best wrestling for mixed martial arts in mixed martial arts, and I get so excited for GSP fights just to see, not necessarily the fight itself, but just to see if he's going to continue this streak, and this streak of basic dominance, you know, that very few people have been able to touch GSP. Again, next fight's Nick Diaz, defending the welterweight title at UFC 158. George St. Pierre is my number 1 favorite fighter of 2012. Just to go over the list there with you one more time, my top 10 favorite fighters of 2012. Number 10 was Ivan Menjivar. Number 9 was Nate Diaz. Number 8 was Shinya Aoki, the only non-UFC member of the list. Number 7 is Cain Velasquez. Number 6 is Glover Teixeira. Number 5, Stefan Struve. Number 4, Joe Lozon. Number 3, Mauricio Shogun Rua. Number 2, Nick Diaz. And number 1, George Rush St. Pierre. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you come back for the next video in the MMA section where we are going to talk about the best event of 2012 and the best fight of 2012 as well. So I hope you come back to check those out. Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and we are smack dab in the middle of the 2012 Bridgewater's Finest Awards. See you next time.